and welcome to the Victorious Living Solutions podcast. I'm your host, Nikeya Young. We have a great show in store for you today. We are going to talk about a subject that is not everybody's favorite subject. Now, Nikeya, you just said y'all had a great show in store for us today, and then you said it's not. So I know. It's still going to be a great show, okay? So today's topic is failure. Failure. This episode is entitled Fail Forward. Fail Forward. What does that even mean? I'm glad you asked. So raise your hand if you like to fail. Me neither. I don't. I do not. I am an admitted perfectionist at times. And if you are anything like me, failure really grinds your gears. You don't like it. It doesn't feel good to put your all into something, a project, a relationship, a friendship, a idea, or whatever, and have it not work out. It can conjure up all kinds of feelings, emotions just bubbling to the surface. Failure can trigger any and every insecurity you have, even ones you didn't know you had. Failure can paralyze you in fear. And so even titling the episode Fail Forward sounds like an oxymoron, because when you fail, you oftentimes freeze, because it's like, that was supposed to be the thing, and I tried that, and it didn't work, and now what? What am I supposed to do? That was the answer, or so I thought. So now I'm back to square one. So failure puts you back at square one to start over and try to figure this thing out. But now you know some things going into it that you didn't the first go round. And so now you can get back in there and try that effort again. It doesn't feel good. But how many times do you have to do it? Who knows? Sometimes you can take your notes from the first failure. I got it now. Get back in there. And it doesn't work again. Okay, so you take your notes from failure 1 and you take your notes from failure 2. I got it this time. This is going to be the thing for sure. And it doesn't work again. This happened to Thomas Edison 10,000 times. No, literally. He failed at making the light bulb 10,000 times before he succeeded. How many of you would have stuck it out that many times? But if he gave up, we'd be sitting in the dark. Or we at least would have been in the dark a lot longer until it took somebody else, failure after failure, to pick up on whatever 10,000 things he didn't get right and say, okay, those 10,000 things didn't work. I think I got it. The point is, if you give up after 1, 2, 3, even 5 or 10 failures at something, you'll never know what it feels like to finally have the victory. So let's look at some ways that we can take our failure, and instead of causing us to paralyze in fear, we can use that failure, that rejection, that whatever have you, as gasoline to propel us forward instead of holding us in place. Okay? So, I already said that failure can cause us to learn from our mistakes. Failure can also lead you to something better than you were initially setting out to do in the first place. Let me give you some examples of just some of my failures. As you may or may not know, I'm an entertainer. So I act, I sing, I model, I do voiceover, I do a lot of different things. I'm a writer. A lot of these different things that I discovered about myself, these different talents, these different opportunities that I've been afforded over the years, have been the results of failures. I attempt one thing and I pursue that direction for a while. And I guess I should define failure for you. I want you to frame failure as an unmet expectation. Okay? So just think of it that way. So your expectation was, I'm going to try this, and this is going to be the result. And so you set out and you try whatever it is, and your result is not what you expected it to be. You didn't get the success you wanted. That's what we're saying qualifies as a failure. You may have gotten something even better, but you did not get what you initially set out to accomplish. That happens in life a lot. So with me, case in point, the whole springboard for me even getting into the entertainment industry for real, started in 2008. I want to say in the spring of 2008, I entered the Miss Plus America pageant system. And I represented the state of Illinois in the pageant. Did you guys even know there was a pageant for plus size women? There's several now. But back then, the Miss Plus America pageant was one of few national pageants that plus size beauty queens had. So I entered that. I represented the state of Illinois. And the national pageant was held in Monroe, Louisiana. I went down there with the expectation of winning the title of Miss Plus America. There were two titles you could win. You could either win your division, whatever division you entered, and I was in the Miss division, or you could win the title of Miss Plus America Elite. If the elite person was the person who had the highest score across all three divisions, the Miss, Ms., and Mrs. Okay, so I said, I want to come home with either one of those two trophies, the Miss Plus America title or the Miss Plus America Elite. Okay, either one of those two, I'll be happy with. And guess what? I did not win. But I did place in the top 5. Top 5 for only the second beauty pageant I had ever attended in life wasn't bad. Okay? The first beauty pageant I did, I was an 18-year-old. And I didn't win that one either. But I placed in the top 5. I was third runner-up to Miss Black Tulsa. And the person who won Miss Black Tulsa was 28 years old with a lot more life experience than I had at 18. So even though I didn't win, I thought that was a great learning experience. And so it took me from 18 to 2008 was like almost exactly a decade after my first pageant attempt. So I was a little rusty, having not done a pageant in that long. And I still placed in the top 5 of a national pageant. These were some of the most beautiful, curvaceous queens I had ever met in my life from multiple states all across the U.S. So, yes, I was very disappointed that I did not win. But I had to look at what I learned. I met a lot of really amazing people, and I still keep in touch with some of those queens today. And I had a confidence that I did not have going into it because I hadn't been a true plus size person before. I had a little shape to me, but becoming plus size for the first time, like when I got to college, I told that story in another episode, and gained a freshman 50 instead of a freshman 15. I can't explain to you guys how shot my personal confidence was in myself when that initially happened to me. in the year 2000, I believe that was. And so to even get up the confidence to say, okay, I'm going to put myself out there in all my curvaceous glory and enter a national beauty pageant was a stretch. And so that ignited a fire in me. And it gave me the courage to say, okay, this might have, I didn't produce the result that I wanted. But wow, if I could do that, I wonder what else I could do. That thought that I wonder what else I could do led me to hit the ground running when I got back to Illinois and see, well, what else have I always wanted to try? I've always wanted to try modeling. I've got some pageant experience under my belt. I wonder if I could try to get in any fashion shows. It was just a thought that turned into me being a part of, not even joking, at least 45, if not 50 fashion shows by the end of 2008 alone. I was in Indiana, I was in Wisconsin, I was all over Chicago, ripping runways left and right. I also, through connections that I met at these fashion shows, I found some people who did stage plays, and I ended up acting in stage plays. Me, who was just trying to grasp the idea that I was a plus-size woman, suddenly developed all this confidence and said, I'm going to get on stage in front of hundreds of people in a theater and act. And did a great job. I continued on with that exploration, and all gas, no brakes. Basically, it snowballed into one thing after the other, because when runway modeling, as fun as runway modeling was, local fashion shows do not pay the greatest. You do it for exposure and to lead you to cross paths with somebody that's going to help take you to the next thing. So that's exactly what happened. I eventually got signed to 4 talent agencies, 2 in Illinois and 2 in Wisconsin. That led me to national television appearances. I've done commercials. I've done some print. I've done multiple episodes of Chicago Fire. All of this stuff. I've done blogging. I've written for one of the top plus-size fashion magazines in the country, probably in the world. I wrote for them for almost 3 years. I did my own writing with Chicago Plus Size Fashion Examiner. I have interviewed celebrities. The list goes on and on. And all of that I just explained came from failing at a beauty pageant. And let me tell you, I didn't just fail at the beauty pageant that year. I came back in 2009 and said, okay, I'm going to try this pageant again. I was married by that time, so I entered into the Mrs. division. And I didn't win that either. I got 3rd runner-up. And I said, well, in 2008, I was 4th runner-up, so I moved up a space. I said, 2010, I'm going to come back and do that pageant again. I came back, and this time I represented Oklahoma, because I was born in Chicago, Illinois, but I was raised in Tulsa, Oklahoma. So if you guys hear a little Southern twang come in my voice every now and again, that's where that comes from. So I represented the state of Oklahoma as the 2010 Mrs. Tulsa County Plus America. I then had to go compete in the Miss Oklahoma Plus America pageant for a chance to represent Oklahoma in the Miss Plus America pageant for 2010. So I thought, okay, I've done this pageant twice before. This should be fine. I go to compete in the Oklahoma Plus America pageant in the Mrs. division, and y'all, I kid you not, I lost that pageant again. This time, I lost at the state level, so I didn't even get to move on to compete at nationals. Bummer. I placed 2nd runner-up. 2008, 4th runner-up. 2009, 3rd runner-up. 2010, 2nd runner-up. Pageantry is expensive, so my pageant career ended right then and there. But you guys, I learned so much. I swear to you, my ability to speak off the cuff in front of any audience about any topic came from all of those failed beauty queen pageant attempts. And this wasn't even a total failure when you think about it, because I was still a beauty queen. I just failed at getting the title I wanted. But you grow, you gain resiliency, you learn a lot about yourself, you become a better person. These are the things that make it important to keep trying. Nobody likes to fail. Nobody likes to not achieve their goal. But this is necessary in order to you getting to the thing that leads to the thing. There's so many stories I can tell you, even down to college. When I was in Oklahoma and my senior year, everyone's applying to colleges. I knew I wanted to get out of Tulsa. I knew I wanted to come to Chicago for school. I had my heart set on one college in Chicago. I wanted to go to Loyola University. I wanted to study psychology. I had done some research. They had a fabulous psychology program. I said, I'm going to Loyola. Bet, this is it. I applied to Loyola and I didn't get in. Well, I knew staying in Tulsa wasn't an option. So I decided to look around and see what other universities were in Chicago that had great psychology programs. There's quite a few. But I found out about DePaul University, and they had a Discover DePaul weekend. So I flew up here, and the minute I set foot on that campus, something inside me knew this is where I belong. I applied to DePaul University, and I did get in. Now, anybody will tell you that there are a lot of similarities between Loyola University and DePaul University. They're both private Catholic universities. They have a lot of similarities. It doesn't even make logical sense to get into one of those schools and not the other because they're so similar. But that's what happened. That failure at getting into the college of my choice led me to apply for a school I wasn't even considering before that failure. I get into that school, and that school changes my life. Because at that school, I meet the man who is my now husband and father of my 3 children and producer of the Victorious Living Solutions podcast. We have been together since we met in 1999. We've been friends. We were friends all 4 years of college. We got together in 2006. We got engaged in 2008, married in 2009. It's 2022, and we're still here. Life-changing experience produced from a failure at getting into Loyola University. What can your failures lead you to? If you never try, you'll never know. So put your best foot forward and don't be afraid to fail. In fact, when you fail, it's inevitable. So I'm not even going to say if. I'm not going to promise you success at everything you do. And there's no participation trophies. I hate participation trophies. But if you set out to do something and you fail, say to yourself, I don't fail. I either win or I learn. So if I didn't win, I didn't hit my mark, I didn't hit my expectation, what did I learn? Jot it down, dust your shoulders off, and try again. Let your failure take you forward. Thank you so much for tuning in to the Victorious Living Solutions podcast. Again, I'm Nikeya Young, and I will see you next time. Keep living victoriously. Goodbye, everybody.